Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune. Joining me once again is Shea Dixon. And Shea, it is Wednesday, and it is time for our Mailbag podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Matty B. How's my volume?
Good. Is it as long as it's plugged into the microphone? You're good. I mean, I can hear you fine, but if you want to double
If you
check
hear
that,
me, that means we're good.
okay.
Oh no, hold on. I'm about to take it up a notch.
Yeah, make sure it's through the microphone. Live editing of Shay's mic because he came on and just told me to run it. So that's what I did. Test it out. Nope, I can't hear you anymore. Look at that. Shea broke it in the first minute.
No, we were
Oh,
muted.
there
Okay,
we
how am I
go.
now?
There we go. Now it's through the mic.
I was testing 1, 2. I'm on the mic now.
We're back. It's a
Back
Mailbag
like we
pod,
never
Shea.
left.
We got 20.
Well, I'd say we're gonna do it in under an hour, and we've wasted the first minute. Let's get it going. Coming off a 29-26 win over Ole Miss overtime, which many are calling one of the best games they've seen in Tiger Stadium. Matty B, you've covered the team since right after COVID. I'd have to imagine that and Bama, Brian Kelly's first year, were the best. Are you going to put that ahead of Bama?
I think I said in the post game, this was more improbable to me because I was very concerned. Like, Alabama game had back and forth to it. It was really fun. I thought Ole Miss was going to win the game, like in the fourth quarter, and for them to pull that out the way that they did was special. So, yeah, and my parents were there. That was their first ever LSU game.
There
I
you
mean, it was
go.
just a lot of things going on there. So it
The
was,
atmosphere, the light show, the
yeah,
lights, the 100, the wristbands, the 100 years of Tiger Stadium. Having so many former players back. Shaq was there, Odell, and all of them. Uh,
Justin
guest
Jefferson.
captains like Warren Rabb, who won the first Natty, and Matt Flynn, who won a Natty. I know Matt Mock was busy, but Insminger steps in, and he had beaten Ole Miss all 4 years of college and won a Natty as an OC. So Justin Jefferson was there. It felt like the who's who, and they played Set It Off and hit the lights show. I think it was the best environment in recent memory for me.
Yeah, very fair.
And everyone showed up and
Yeah.
stayed the whole time.
God, it was packed. It was incredible. It was incredible.
So, shout out to the LSU fans. And if you weren't there, I'm sure you could even hear it through the broadcast. Some people were saying that they went to the game and then watched it again and were like, the broadcast didn't do it justice of truly how loud, obviously, it was. But great win. And guess what, Matty B? Moving on to what we've said every week is every single game is going to be a battle for this LSU team. We know that. We know what they are. And so far, 5-1, right? I mean, they've battled the likes of South Carolina on the road and Ole Miss at home to get SEC wins. And they lose that opener in the final 8 seconds to Southern Cal. But beyond that, have remained unblemished. But again, I just want to start by saying I've heard this national rhetoric this week of like LSU at number 8. They're that next team to really get exposed. And I don't think anyone in the LSU fan base or media thinks that this is a team that is like a top 8 team in the country.
Yeah,
I
like
think
the expectation, and I think we have a
was
question about predicting it.
13 to like 20 probably range, and which is
Yeah,
where they were preseason, and that they would lose a couple games, but the goal was to get to potentially over exceed expectations and hit 10-2 and get in the playoffs, and that's still on the table. So great win
yes,
with Ole Miss, but
for sure.
every game is a battle.
Yeah, the
Hey,
spread.
Vandy was your freebie. And guess what? Ain't so free anymore.
Not a freebie anymore. Yeah, the spread for Arkansas is still 2.5 right now. For those wondering, it's very much going to be a tough game. Going
It
through
always
it.
is at Arkansas, no matter the talent level of the team. But let's dive into it. Right now, it is a mailbag time. We do this with subscribers only, and you're able to get on and really, when you look at it, Matty B, ask anything you want. Every week on the board, we answer it. But if you want it answered in more detail or on the pod, you jump into Matty B's questions, and he'll get the answers for you. And we will read them off here and kind of debate them or give our 2 cents. But right now, Matty B, it is $1 for a day. I'll give you for a week, excuse me. I'll give you our breakdown of the deal right now. $1 for a week, and then it will get you less than $5 a month for the rest of the year. So, pretty good deal running on the Bengal Tiger right now. Again, $1 for 1 week, and then you'll be able to get less than $5 a month for the rest of the year. Perfect time because basketball recruiting is heating up. Basketball starting for both sides, men's and women's, and we are literally in the middle of football season. Signing days coming up. How does LSU either hold on to a top 3 class or build on it? And we've added Julie, and we've added Jarrett, and we've added Tyler, and we got Colin on socials. Maddie B, we're rolling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot them with the code.
$1.
Is it go?
$1.
Is it go still?
I
The
think it's
promo
still
code?
go. Yeah.
That's what I have in my
GEAUX.
yeah, GEAUX right there.
So yeah, if you just go to the bengaltiger.com, or you can Google search it or go to On3 and find it through there. It will pop up, and I believe it will show you. So
Yeah.
you can check out the latest deal again, $1 right now for 7 days, and then you'll be able to get it at less than $5 a month for the rest of the year. That's the best deal we've had so far. So we would very much appreciate it. We've added a bunch of people to try to make the team stronger. It did. We're rolling. We've had the most content to start a month that we've had since you, Billy, and I got here. This is the perfect time. So jump on the Bengal Tiger if you haven't yet, and we'll have some fun. That's what we do every day on the message board. And now we bring the message board to you. So, Maddie B, let's get rolling. Patience Pal asked about our newest hire. When you read the name Tyler Harden, who's a LSU student, a senior now, he's doing recruiting coverage for us. Do you think Tyler Durden, Maddie B? I go in for right now, and Tyler will eventually load in his own stories, but I have to go in and I'll load his stories in. And when I go to tag his name, I've done multiple times Tyler D, like thinking Durden. So I fit into the yes.
Okay. Good. Good. Yes, the movie came out. Fight Club came out in 1999. So we are really pushing it back
For
a little
you, at
bit.
least.
But yes, for me, yeah, at least I was 1 year old.
1999 was yesterday.
Yeah, I was 1 year
I had
old
some
when that came out.
genuine playing.
So good. So Shea thinks about it. I do not, but yes, I understand the reference.
You could watch it at any point. It didn't go anywhere. It's on Netflix. Go watch it.
Yeah, they have movies from the 90s on Netflix. That you're right.
And get on there, Maddie B. Educate yourself. Okay, America, 1775. Will Arkansas exploit the DTs in the run game? We seem to not do too well in the middle. Your assessment there of a group that lost a starter in Jacoby and Guillory, but given what you're working with, I think a lot of people have liked what Bo Davis has done.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, we've talked about this pass rush, right? Like repeatedly. And I think that's where, when talking about this defensive line, that's clearly the strength. I would say the run defense against Ole Miss was fine. Bentley popped off the 50-yard run for a touchdown. And I think there were some other plays where Ole Miss definitely had a crease where either a linebacker, usually Whit Weeks, came in and made a tackle to limit it to like 5 yards instead of 15 yards. But I definitely don't think this is a strong run defense right now. I think this is one that's going to have to continue to prove it. With that being said, they did enough against Ole Miss, and Arkansas is going to continue to test them with whether the quarterback run or just the in general run game up the middle or really wherever they want. So I'm not expecting Arkansas to come out and throw the ball a ton. So that's definitely going to be an area to watch.
The right now, Arkansas ranks fourth in the SEC in rushing, Maddie B, but the team that ranks right ahead of them, Ole Miss, granted, Ole Miss has played an extra game, but the statistics overall are very similar. Right at 20 and 21 touchdowns, right at 39 to 41 rushes per game. Both of them will use the quarterback to run it, and both of them are at 199 and 200 yards rushing a game. And you said a key to beating Ole Miss was stopping the run game. They ran for about 180, but they contained Dart. They made stops when they needed to. That Bentley run for 50, 60, I don't know what it was, 40, 50 yards.
50,
That's
yeah.
a lot of it, obviously. Everything counts, but still. Is it fair to say that you're facing a similar run game that you just did?
Similar, yes,
in
because of that.
output.
Yeah, because of that running quarterback running aspect. Taylor Green is such a good athlete. I mean, he's a better athlete than Jackson Dart.
And we
Um,
should say that the latest is he's trending to play.
yes, he is training to play. I assume that means he's going to get out there. So you do have that aspect of it. Obviously, they don't have Rocket Sanders anymore, who's at South Carolina, but they still have some capable guys. So I think it's going to be a good test on both sides of the ball. But for this defense to continue to do what it just to build off of what it just showed against Ole Miss, I, I think this is going to be a nice test for them physically and mentally to be assignment sound.
Jaquindon Jackson, their running back, he's just short of 100 touches at 99 on the year, but for averages about 6 yards a carry, 471 yards, very, very respectable.
Yes.
Excuse me, 5.72, very respectable, but he has 10 touchdowns, 6 games, 10 touchdowns. That would be third in the SEC in rushing behind Milroe, who plays quarterback, obviously, and then Louisiana's own Dylan Sampson out of Dutchtown. So
Quinton Jackson, former Texas high school quarterback, and ended up moving to running back in college, and he's damn good. So
he signed with Texas coming out.
Yeah,
Went
Quinton
out to Utah
Jackson,
and came back here.
Texas football, people know him.
And Louisiana rep it, Dylan Sampson there at the top. But so yes, they don't play Tennessee this year. They will play Bama, but that's Miller at quarterback. So through the midway point of the season, the running back they face this weekend has scored more than any other running back that they will face.
Yeah, good player.
Or have faced, I should say, as well.
Yeah, good player.
Okay, let's get on to the next one. I'm running my double monitors. Let me get right here. Misled Alarm. Misled Alarm's in college. Today is his career day. So his first question was,
Career
"Am I
fair,
employable?" Yeah, career fair. He was nervous for it, but everyone gave him his good wishes and some tips. Am I employable? You are, and I think after today you will get some leads. But here, let's move on.
If persistence on the board is any indication, then yes,
he's going to get a job. Yes, 100%. Do you think the defense has finally turned a corner, or do you think it will see some regression? Jarrett Roser just wrote an article about this, about the defense, talking to the defense and saying they were saying, hey, look, we've turned a new, a corner in a way, but how do we maintain that path? I'll tell you one thing, and from talking to people very close to the program in the days after Ole Miss here, the message from Blake Baker and around the defense was not one that was celebratory, but more, guys, this is humble but hungry, is what Blake Baker kind of always says. And that's what they've got to be, right? Like we know where their deficiencies are. If they can outshine those and play to a high level like they did against Ole Miss, like they did against the back half of UCLA, like they did in spurts against South Carolina, they can win some games for you when the offense is struggling like they have in spots. So I think I said it after the post game. I think there's a greater, if we look at the two balances of Ole Miss, right? Nussmeier playing his worst game by his own wording of his 7 starts, and the defense playing a really unbelievable game. I think that there's a much higher likelihood, above 75%, that the defense continues to get better than Nussmeier continues to get going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. In terms of LSU, in theory, I think that should be one of their worst offensive games. I think Nussmeier will learn from that. I have faith that the defense will not be in that position repeatedly. With that being said, Arkansas and A&M, and Arkansas and A&M are 2 very good defenses as well, so they'll be tested. Do I think the defense has finally turned a corner? Yes, because doing that for a full game, 60 minutes plus overtime, shows to me that they have confidence in what they're doing and what they're executing right now. So I do think they've turned a corner now. I still don't think this is like the highest ceiling defense. Like, I don't expect them to come out with their hair on fire every game. I don't expect it to be perfect by any means, but I do think they have turned a corner, and I think they have an identity right now that really helps them.
We just wanted a lot of these stats to get cut in half in a way. They were the worst in America, get us into the midway point, and they've done that so far.
Yeah.
Blake Baker's been amazing with what he's worked with, and individually the position coaches all have as well. So
Yeah, now it's on the offense to not have a repeat of that game that they
I
just
think
had.
they'll be fine there.
I agree.
We've seen more good than we have these little spurts of bad. And even in Nussmeier's worst game, which is going to come at some point, they won it. And it was an SEC game. And he played a critical part in winning it by going back and shaking all that off and making some NFL throws.
Isn't
So,
it crazy? I think it was Bonnet tweeted it. He in his 7 starts, he has 3 comeback victories with those like
well, they
final
play from
drives.
behind all the time.
Wisconsin, South Carolina, and now this. Like they were all pretty much like the last drives of the game.
They're all
And
double digit down,
to
too.
make those comebacks is really crazy.
Yeah. Quit playing from behind. Get ahead. Joe Rowe, if you had to predict LSU's record from here on out, what would you go with? Matty B, 6 games left. The games are obviously they're going to
At
Arkansas this
Arkansas,
weekend. Then they will go to
at
A&M.
A&M.
Then they have a bye. Then they'll have Bama at home. Then they'll go to Florida. Then you finish up at home, Vandy, OU. As we know, Vandy you can't skip right over. In fact, you would put OU or Florida on there as two of the ones where you're like, those two might be the worst too.
Yeah.
But being at Arkansas and being at Florida, it's almost like OU might be the easiest game you've got left, and that's at home. Never would have thought
Yeah.
that. Ugh. Matty B, this reiterates again at Arkansas, at Florida, at A&M, and home against a top 10 Bama, a good Vandy team, and OU. Nothing's given.
No. It's this
This
and
looks
this is
way tougher than it did at before the season.
yeah, I mean, especially the Vanderbilt game changes things because I'm going into the year, you
And
look at
Florida's
that as
playing fine football. Like they're not a dumpster fire like you thought they would be out of the gates,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, correct. And we know how hard it is to win on the road. Really, this upcoming stretch of you know A&M, Arkansas, and Alabama, if you can win 2 out of 3, that I think sets you up for the playoffs. Now you have to win the last 3 as well, which is always going to be tough. I think the most likely outcome is 9-3. I mean, you have
I
6 games
agree.
left. I mean, if you 4-2 would be very impressive considering I think how challenging it'll be and the limitations of this LSU team. Like we don't think it is a juggernaut. I mean, even the perceived juggernauts are, Georgia beat Mississippi State by 10. Like this is a college football year where every game seems like it's coming down to 10 points or less. So I think 4-2 in the back half puts you at 9-3. Ultimately, the
Yeah,
USC loss is going to be the disheartening one, I think, no
it
matter how
is.
you twist this season. And that's what we said after the game. It was like it puts so much pressure on you to be
But they
perfect.
weren't. Yeah, you're 100%. But they weren't a playoff. We didn't think there was not a higher likelihood that they were a playoff team than weren't. So like I can look back at USC and say that, but I can also look at South Carolina and Ole Miss and say pretty impressed they won those in games they probably shouldn't have. So
Yeah.
I look at it like this: if they beat Arkansas and A&M on the road
Whew.
in these next 2 weeks, that sets them up for the playoffs in a way where you play Bama and you're like, okay, we're feeling good. We had a bye week. Look at us, 1 loss to USC, and that was the first game. We haven't lost since then. Either you win Bama, and then you say, look, we've got Florida, Vandy, and OU coming up. We can go
SEC
two and
title.
one, and we're in the playoffs. 2-1, we're in the playoffs. But even if you win these next 2 games and you lose to Bama, I think this team rebounds so well that they would look up and say, Florida, Vandy, OU, that's all we have to do to get in the we could win those games and get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think these are the games, Arkansas and A&M, both on the road, back-to-back weeks, that if you go win, you set yourself up
Yeah.
very, very, very well.
Yeah. I said last week, or maybe even before that, I said these upcoming 3 games because I think somebody asked me if they could win all 3 of them, Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, and I was skeptical, which, that is a very
Should
tough
be.
stretch. But I said if they win all 3 of those games, they're making the playoffs. So I still believe that. If they beat Arkansas and A&M on the road, they're making the playoffs. I don't know how exactly. I'm not going to predict it all, but I think that will get them in. They'll get in at 10-2 at that point, or 11-1. Hell,
Oh, don't get ahead of yourself. But yes, I think these
that
next
would
2
be very
games are
impressive.
big. I think to answer the question, we think 9-3 is the most likely, but
Yeah.
these paths to 10-2, or a one loss are all right in front of them. So
Yeah.
we'll see how these next two
Gonna be a
games
lot of
play out,
close games. They're gonna have to
starting with
continue to win
Arkansas.
close games for sure.
Mike the Tiger asked he says that Arkansas has given up 175 on the ground to the past three opponents. Do you think will be more effective in the run game this week? They just obviously played Tennessee, they played A&M, and they played Auburn. Is this a susceptible Arkansas defense to the run? Can they get it going?
I think this is I think it's going to be interesting. I have very little faith in LSU's run game, like to be consistently good in games, but I do think they have the ability, especially if Caden Durham's healthy this week, which I don't think he was healthy against Ole Miss. Caden Durham's healthy. I think he makes a massive difference and allows them to pop a few of those runs. So they don't have to be, consistently getting 3-4 yards. They can, get 3 yards and then pop a 10-yard run at some point. So I would feel a lot better if I knew Caden Durham was 100%, which maybe he is at this point. I definitely don't think he's injured, but he might be hurt a little bit, as they say. Um, so yeah, I mean, I do think they could have some success, but I'm going into every game saying I think Nussmeier is going to throw the ball 40 plus times and have a lot on his plate regardless. So that's just where I'm at with this offense, to be honest with you.
I don't know what I think here. It's like Caden Durham was hurt. I think they just have to run the ball better. Like that's I don't think it's any like big thing. I think it's, hey, we just need to go out there and execute, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, can they do it? I think the interior offensive line struggled against Ole Miss, but they're not going to play in front like Ole Miss's until, A&M next week probably, and then, you go from there. But that was a major question mark. We know Will Campbell is good. We know they have flashes with Caden Durham, but overall, I don't have huge faith in this run game really ever getting it all the way around.
Didn't we just say
Unless
100 yards a game would be nice?
100 yards would be nice. We'll see if Nussmeier contributes to that as a scrambler or by design at all.
I wasn't gonna
But
say, I figured we had a question on that, but yes, he can get you.
probably,
He should be getting you 30, 40 if they gave him what they did against Ole Miss.
yeah, Ole Miss was daring him to run at this point. But yeah, as far as the traditional running game goes, I'm just not as bullish on it. But that's fine. We'll see if they can prove me wrong.
Hey, look, Caden Durham came out of left field for it to really boost it, so I'm not
Yes,
counting it
Caden
out.
Durham makes a huge difference. If he's healthy, then I do feel a lot better.
This O line can pass pro with an NFL team. If they could run block to some capacity, it well rounds it pretty efficiently. Mike also asked, do you think the defensive performance against Ole Miss is an outlier because of scheme or fit or just the environment, all those play a factor, or was the progress shown sustainable? As we said, I vote sustainable.
I think I lean sustainable as well. Especially with the offenses that LSU face. I mean, Alabama will be good, but I think they match up fairly well against the A&Ms, the Arkansas, the Floridas, and you go down the list. Oklahoma obviously has struggled. Like I'm much more. I think they play a lot more good defenses on their schedule than good offenses, if that makes sense. So I do think it is sustainable moving
Yeah,
forward, but that's not to say that they're gonna I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they, allowed Alabama to score 35 or something like that. But against these middle of the pack teams, Arkansas, A&M, in terms of offense, I think they should be competitive.
100%. Tiger Mike, do we see any jump balls to true freshman Trey'Dez Green in the red zone? I believe we're underutilizing his ability so far. I don't think it has to be jump balls. We saw they put him at slot wide receiver and he ran a slant and easily caught it. I can tell you this from talking to people that it's something that's being discussed. He's played minimal snaps. He's had 2 targets. He's had 2 touchdowns. They want him on the field more. Expect him on the field more. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he's
And
gonna
Brian
play.
Kelly even came out and said he's moving to slot, like kind of a slot receiver now.
Yeah, he's gonna play. And to be honest, we get this question every week, but to be honest, just asking him to be a jump ball threat, I think, is minimizing what Trey'Dez Green is. Trey'Dez Green, if you watch the high school tape, if you watch him as an athlete, in camp, he has a route tree. That's what I said from day one. It was what separates him from Kamorian Pimpton. No slight to Pimpton, but Trey'Dez Green was a 5-star for a reason. This is a guy who moves differently at 6'7", 6'8". Like he is able to cut, he's able to get separation, he has
And he
routes,
catches it.
and he's smooth as a receiver. So yeah, sure, they could throw jump balls up to him. They don't really like doing that as an offense. It's not super efficient,
Well, yeah,
but
I'd just throw it to him.
just give him a slant, give him a zig, give him a comeback route. Like he can run a route tree. He's really good. So yeah, I'm excited to
And
see
he's
what
a
he does there.
mismatch for what anyone outside, like a linebacker's not covering. I'm a slot corner, yeah. But then if you're putting your slot corner in there that may be able to run with him, be a little physical, then you can run the football a little bit easy. Like
Yeah.
have him out there, move him to slot, and see what happens. I
Well,
like this, and they're going to do it. Brian
yes.
Kelly said.
Yeah, and just real quick, the touchdown that he caught on the RPO, like it was a slant where he not only beat the guy inside, but then it felt like he like boxed him out a little bit to where the guy could not, like there's no chance of the guy getting back in front of him. Basically, is what I'm trying to say, and so that's what makes him such an awesome receiver.
Let's go to the next one. I agree. He's a freak. And they will be using him more. He'll play this weekend versus Arkansas a good bit, I bet.
Yeah.
Nemo Aldis. Okay. Is this the game when Xavier Thomas breaks one off? So we're talking return game. I'm just trying to look right now. Punting.
Ole Miss didn't give him any chances, did they? I don't remember him really getting any chances to, or any space to. I know he had the one on the sideline. It felt like they were definitely not trying to let him get one, and I think that's going to be the approach for most teams, is not to allow Xavier, especially in punt return.
Arkansas has only allowed 4 punt returns this season.
Yeah, they're probably not going to give him. And then, I mean, we watch a lot of college football. I mean, just sitting there watching games, it feels like the NFL at this point, to the point where, and I mean the old NFL, where everything's going out the end zone right now. Like, what percentage of kickoffs are even returned right now in college football? It feels like it's like 25%.
Yeah, Arkansas has given up 11 punt return yards on 4 this season.
Yeah.
Now, not that he can't do it, and he's going to catch everything. Even if it's out of bounds, he runs out of bounds and catches
He's
it.
awesome.
Like sure-handed as can be, but I'm not sure if this will be it. And then kickoffs all depend on what they do. If they just want to kick it out of the back of the end zone, then you don't have an option.
Yeah, college needs to. I should. I
You
don't
want the
know.
dynamic kickoff?
College might have to go to the pro kickoff,
The
but
dynamic kickoff?
the more I watch the NFL, and I don't watch the NFL as much as I watch college, but I watch the NFL, I feel like teams are just still getting touchbacks. Like teams are still kicking it out the end zone. Like they've explored the squibs and stuff, but a lot of it's just still out the end zone. So I don't know. I wish there was a way to make it more entertaining, but it is what it is.
5 for 5. Shout out to the name. Does Braden Swinson break the LSU sack record? Julie Bodwin read an article about this today. Matty B, he's pacing to do it in the regular season. Then you've even got either a bowl game or a chance at a playoffs. But regular season wise, Arden Key, he's held the sack record since 20. Gosh, what year was that? Let me think. For 8 years, he's held it. So that was whatever,
2016.
2013, yeah, something in that range. 16, 8 years. Harold Perkins was the closest to come to it. He had 8.5 in 2022, his freshman season. I'd say your boy, my preseason top 5, number 4 overall player, Braden Swinson, is at 7 sacks. I believe you've got 6 games left. Like I said, at regular season, I'm going yes. He's getting himself a sack a game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said the record is at 12?
Yes.
He should be able to get that. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. For him to get to,
and there'll be games where he'll have 2.
Yeah, like really only 5.5, because remember we can break it down by halves if we really want to. I mean, yeah, 5.5, 6 sacks in 6 games.
Major, come on, brother, help him out.
Yeah,
get in on that half sack.
I think he can do
but
that.
Yes, I'm going yes. I think there will be a new LSU single season sack record leader, and it will be Braden Swinson.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
Shout out Kevin Peoples, who's coached up those guys to do a hell of a job. Blaze said, do you think we'll see more of the Buffalo linebacker package we ran earlier?
You skipped 5 for 5, second question.
Might be. Let me rewind. On a scale of 1 to 18, how nervous are you about Arkansas winning this weekend? I'll sum it up here in a short way. I view all 6 remaining games on the same, if I'm a fan, the equal amount of nerve level.
Yeah.
Which is a level which I would only describe as uncertain.
Yeah. This
LSU can win every game and lose every game on the schedule.
You know what's funny is 2 years ago, and somebody I think asked Brian Kelly about this. 2 years ago, when they beat Alabama and then went on the road to Arkansas, everybody in the world was like, "Man, how is LSU only a 3-point favorite in this game? How?" And including me, I was like, "LSU, man, Arkansas is terrible." And then they go and they win by a field goal. This year feels different in the sense that I think everybody's like, yeah, 2.5 point spread feels about right. Like this is not going to be a comfortable game in any capacity. So I don't know how nervous I am about Arkansas winning, but I definitely don't think it's going to be comfortable. I mean, scale of 1 to 18, I'll answer the question. 12, somewhere around there. A 12. So, I'm not like completely panicked, but I'm concerned.
I go 50-50. That's
9. Shay's
every
at a
game here.
9.
Every game here on out, I would view the same.
I like it.
I'm not sure. So, and that's okay. Well, at least this team has proven at this point, they've only lost 1 game, that they win more of them than they lose when they're in these kind of 50-50 matchups. So
Dave,
we
yes.
will we'll see how it unfolds. Let's do one more, then we'll do an ad.
Yeah.
Blay. Do you think we see more of that Buffalo package that we ran earlier with the expected amount of runs we'll see? And if so, is West Weeks the guy to come in? It's been reported already that West Weeks is going to probably just sit out the rest of the year. I think Lon had reported that not a shock. He's been hurt.
Yeah.
And he still has a game to give, so you could still play another game, and you can play in the postseason bowl games. That's not a worry anymore. So, but right now, Witt and Greg Penn are going to be out there for every single snap, basically, minus being spelled here and there. But do you think more of the Buffalo package, given the amount of running you think Arkansas wants to do?
I don't know how far along Xavier Atkins and Devon Keys are. Like I don't know if they're ready for that to get on the field consistently. So I think they're
We
fine
stick
with
with Star.
Yeah, I
With
think they're
Major
fine
Burns on the field.
with Major just playing like really at the line of like in the box at the line of scrimmage type
That's what
things.
he did
So
against Ole Miss. Had a great game.
yeah, so I think they're fine with him there. I don't think they need to do that.
All right. We'll see if we're right or wrong. But yes, as always, on the mailbag, My Perfect Franchise and Andy Luedecke are who sponsor things. And you see the number right there on the screen if you're on YouTube, 404-973-9901. Write this number down, 404-973-9901. That's, or you can email him, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at myperfectfranchise.net. Here's why. His services for Bengal Tiger fans and subscribers and listeners of the podcast is free. He's been a franchise owner for decades, and now he's pretty much dedicating all of his time to being a franchise consultant. And that's walking you through everything from what kind of business you want to be in. Do you have the financial requirements or what they look like? Do you have the time commitment, which is often just as big of a thing? What are your skill sets? What's out there to fit that? No matter what it is, every question under the sun's been asked. He's answered them. Many people in the Bengal Tiger have hit him up and helped him out, and some have started to launch businesses. So he's giving it to you 100% free to call him, email him, and just talk about things to see if it's something for you or not. And then if so, he can point you in the right direction. Again, 404-973-9901 or Andy, A-N-D-Y, at myperfectfranchise.net. We're also running 2 promos this year where he's giving away 3 months of a free membership, which is sort of all inclusive. And we will announce that winner. We ran the last promo during Ole Miss week, but I will announce that one today, tomorrow, and then we'll run the next promo in Bama week. But if you're on the board, check out for that because you can win some free stuff. But again, Andy Luedecke, My Perfect Franchise, hit him up, 404-973-9901. Moving on. Bayou Tiger 96 said, how much run at wide receiver does Trey'Dez Green actually get this week? I had already said I think he plays a good bit. Considering he's barely played this year, I would say any amount of run is significant. I don't know a snap count, but I think he'll be out there.
Well, it was shocking to me that he was only on the field 3 times last week. I think CJ Daniels' health, which I don't know if we have a question about CJ Daniels. I know we got one after the game, but we can kind of tie it into here. But basically, I think CJ Daniels being healthy maybe lessens the need for him. He'll still play. Still think he's going to play, but I don't know if it's as necessary as it was last week where, without CJ and Kyle Parker for the first time, you were really scrambling at receiver trying to figure out what to do.
Well, Xavion was having to do things he doesn't normally do. We've
Xavion had
reiterated this time and again, CJ outsnaps Kyron Lacey for a reason.
Yeah.
He blocks and he's I had someone tell me again after the game when I was like, was not having CJ a big deal? Like, just because he catches 3 or 4 balls for 50 yards a game every week and you just kind of overshadow it with Aaron Anderson or Lacey, he is so important because he also, and you've said it many times, he moves around so much that it allows other people to get put into mismatch situations.
Yeah.
When you don't have him, you're sticking guys back in spots like a Xavion Thomas, who's not used to doing what he was doing on Saturday.
Yeah, Xavion, I think, is a good player and a great return man, but him getting 10 targets in a game is not ideal. So I do think Trey'Dez will
That's not a
play.
knock on Xavion. That's a knock on what their normal offensive approach is, which
Yeah,
Xavion has a place in. You want him doing the jet sweeps, the bubble screens, all that.
exactly. Not as a guy that's throwing 30-yard go routes down the sideline and trying to make those contested catches. That's just not what you want. So I do think Trey'Dez plays. How much? I don't know.
More
15.
than 2 snaps, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say 10
mean,
to 15 snaps. I think I'd be
which would
comfortable
be
with.
more than he's played all year.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I'd be very comfortable with that, especially if CJ is healthy. So that would help.
And playing some slot receiver, flexing out, which is what people want to see. So,
Yeah.
Hoko asked, will Chris Hilton actually play this year? Each week we've got this whole, he's a little behind, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, blah. Let me not blah, blah, blah. I'll give you Kelly's quote from today. Chris was able to do individual work. His day-to-day situation is still questionable, but we're trending in the right direction. Essentially, Matty B, he said it earlier in the week that he's done everything possible, MRI, scans. It's just healing slowly. I find it hard pressed to believe he's going to go the entire year and not play.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to bet, I think he's gonna play this year. How much? I have no idea. How many games? I have no idea. I mean, I've just kind of left it up to whenever he's healthy and whenever he's able to play, you take him. At this point, I think they are still one of the best passing offenses in the country without him. I've said it before; it'd be nice to have his speed, but if not, Aaron Anderson stepped up fine. Kyron Lacey's been great. Mason Taylor's stepped up or been great. And then you kind of fill in from there. So they don't need him, but it would be nice to have him. But I do think he plays this year at some point.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have him. There is zero doubt. And maybe they do need him. Look, Kyle Parker's out. CJ is questionable. You're moving Trey'Dez. There is a point maybe you do actually need him. So we'll see what happens there with Chris Hilton. And we'll get more injury updates as we get closer to Arkansas with both CJ and Chris Hilton. Tigers 107 asked this. I thought this was one of the more my bigger takeaways of the game. But he said after reviewing film, were their receivers open underneath? Because that had been LSU's game all year, right? The underneath stuff. Nuss was averaging 7 yards, an attempt, basically, to where get it to Mason Taylor, get it to guys on crossing routes, throw these kind of out routes to Lacey, and they were able to do stuff from there, or they just gained positive yardage. And it wasn't this feeling like Ole Miss where it was like, they're just throwing it deep every play now, it feels like. And it wasn't that, but it very much felt that way. And it happened more than it did in other games. He says that, Go Tigers says it. But then he brings up CJ Daniels being out, and he said, maybe without CJ, those throws aren't there. I think that plays a role into it. I think that the normal CJ, Taylor, Kyron, Aaron Anderson grouping, when you shuffle that up and you can't do the sort of moving around that you normally do, Matty B, And now you got Xavion in there, and you don't have CJ, and you don't have Kyle Parker. It's just different. I thought, yes, you could probably look at it and Nuss should have been checking down or doing different things. I don't think Sloan went with a new playbook against Ole Miss. I just think that when you lose a guy who leads you in reps and you don't have another receiver that you were playing in Kyle Parker, you have to do some things you don't normally want to do. And I think some of that's on Nuss, who he's a gunslinger. I still think that in his mind, sometimes he's like, I'm going to take this and hit it.
I definitely think you're right. I'll take it from another angle. I think Ole Miss forced his hand in a lot of those situations. Not to say he didn't have some check down options, sure, but I think with the injuries that they had at receiver and with the limitations of some of the receivers playing, like we've talked about it, the lack of being vertical in this passing game. I think Ole Miss went into this game saying, I'm tired of watching Garrett Nussmeier complete 6, 7, 8 yard passes here. Let's make him connect on a 30-yard pass to Xavion Thomas or to someone else over the top and make that beat us. And I think they did that very, very well. I think they forced Nussmeier to take some shots he didn't want to take, and he thought he saw some things that weren't open. His average depth of target was 15.4 yards. The previous high was 10.2 against Nichols. In the other games, he never got to 10. I think Ole Miss looked at the receivers that they had. They looked at Nussmeier's tendencies, and they said, hey, I want to force him to look deep and force him to maybe become that gunslinger again. So, I mean, I've talked about it before. This isn't a great LSU receiving core in terms of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. So those type of throws are a little tougher. You have to be perfect on them in a way that, maybe past quarterbacks haven't had to be. So I just think teams are going to probably continue to force the receivers to make some plays over the top that, the South Carolinas, the UCLAs, the USCs, the days of teams loading the box and, giving up those one-on-ones for 6 yards, I think might be over at this point. So I think Nussmeier is going to have to
We'll
be
see.
smarter. Nussmeier is definitely going to have to be smarter because teams are going to look to probably force him to take some shot plays over the top, and he has to know when they're open.
He also didn't get sacked. Good
Correct.
on the O line this past weekend against a really good front seven for Ole Miss, which we talked about all week. Never sacked. So, MC Cool 1K, Fate of the Universe on the line. Who do you want rushing off the edge? Lawrence Taylor, Major Burns. I'll take this one, Matty B. It's Major Burns because Lawrence Taylor is 65. And if we think that he's still got it to go all game for 4 quarters, that's on you. Maybe he can.
Major was
Major.
getting in there. This
I'm
is
not
what
I'm not knocking Major coming off his biggest game. Not me.
look, Major Burns, this is exactly what I saw in fall camp. This is where I was like, oh my gosh, this defense is like awesome because they were like killing Garrett Nussmeier in the offense because they were blitzing and Major and Witt and all these guys and Harold Perkins were getting in the backfield constantly. And then like the first 5 weeks of the season, we just never saw it. We never saw Witt Weeks and Harold Perkins and Major Burns get into the backfield. And now this week against Ole Miss, they finally did. So credit to them for figuring out something and getting Major Burns into the backfield because it's clearly where he's the best. And, I still don't think he's a great player, but he did his job very well.
Blake Baker, Corey Raymond doing their thing. Jake Olson. Yes, I've great game, Major. Boudreaux Badger said, should I be concerned about Arkansas or how concerned about the Arkansas offense against our defense? They look mediocre at best, even with their starting quarterback. I guess he meant like maybe out or not out. But regardless,
No, even
I
with
will say,
yeah.
I will say they do have the number 3 total offense in the SEC right now. It goes Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas, 480 a game. They average about 20 more yards a game than LSU does. The flip side of this is scoring offense. They rank 9th in the SEC, 33. LSU's about a field goal ahead per game. So I guess the only thing I can take away from that is they can put up some yards, but they can stall out too.
Yeah, I've been swamped this week in terms of basketball and stuff. So I haven't been able to look at their advanced stats or anything like that, or really look at their conversion percentages, I would
Yeah, you
assume
have
that
your
they're
film study coming out Thursday, so we'll
yeah,
have
I'm doing
that
it
then.
tomorrow.
Okay,
So
just
check
off
out.
top, are you? What do you think from watching Arkansas?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched plenty of Arkansas, but I was looking up some stats. I definitely don't think this is like a bad offense. I don't think this is South Carolina's offense. I'll say that. Like, I think South Carolina's offense is worse than Arkansas's. And that game was weird for LSU, so I'm not saying that they're going to allow 33 points, but I definitely think Arkansas. Taylor Green is an actual player. Like, I don't think he is Lenore Sellers back there. So I think Green has some talent. We talked about the running back position being a strength. I think that Luke Haas at tight end is a player. Like, overall, just the talent level of this offense is they're capable. If LSU is not ready to play on Saturday, they are capable of scoring some touchdowns, of breaking some big plays. I mean, I watched that
I
full game
can
against Oklahoma State. I watched the full game against Tennessee. Like, we've seen them go toe to toe with some teams, and whether they win or lose, they're like usually competitive. So,
I'll put it
um,
this way: you want to talk about tight in a 2.5 spread, which LSU's favored by 2.5 on the road here. Both teams have 8 field goals this year, and LSU has scored 26 touchdowns. Arkansas scored 25.
yeah,
They're basically dead even on what they've actually put up onto the board.
yeah. I mean, they've
Not
against
7 points off.
Auburn scored 24 against Auburn, scored 17 against A&M, 19 against Tennessee. So, like you said, the drives kind of stall out, but I think in general, there's enough offensive talent here to you don't want to play with your food here and not stay
No.
Arkansas's food because this
I
is
mean,
a
and with those numbers, Maddie B, and look at situational. I don't know if someone turned it over a few times. They had short fields. It doesn't matter. We've played half a season here. LSU fans would consider LSU's offense good. Arkansas has got the exact same production, just doing it in a different way.
yeah.
So I would
Yeah,
say that
4
this is a
fumbles, 6
test.
picks. Oh, it's definitely going to be a test. I'm trying to look at some red zone numbers. Yeah, 66% on red zone touchdowns. Yeah. Definitely will be an interesting game here. We'll have a full preview on Friday, so come back for that, and I'll have all the numbers for you.
How concerned? I'm going back to what I said. Every game brings concern here on out because
I think,
we know who LSU is, and you're playing an SEC that all looks to be about not too far off from each other.
yeah,
And you don't have to play Texas, which is good. F at Tiger said, fat, I guess it would be Tiger.
Fat Tiger.
What are y'all's middle names? Mine's Andrick, Andereck. It's my
I mean, you're
mom's
still.
last name.
I was prepared when I first read this. I was like, y'all think y'all are getting my middle name out of here?
Yeah, Andrick. It's my mom's middle name.
And then
So,
Shea comes on and
I mean,
says
my mom's
Andrick.
last name.
So I
Yeah.
guess I'll just say it's Anthony. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, both A's. I vote for mine.
Okay.
Does Swinson break the sack record? I said yes. What did you say?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
2-0 is our votes. Incredible in Ed. Incredible Ned. It's his first question, maybe. I haven't had to read that one. Incredible Ned is what I'm going to guess it is.
Yeah.
Do you think
Incredible.
Taylor Green can throw the ball well enough to shred our secondary? Are either of y'all going to the game? We're not going to the game. This is when we aren't going to. So we'll have the coverage from home and then an immediate pod after. But we will be in the live thread, which is Incredible Ned, where it's popping, not Fayetteville, the live thread.
Mm-hmm.
But Taylor Green, does he throw it well enough, Matty B, for you to say that he could throw it on LSU secondary?
I think this is more about the secondary to me than Green. I think Green has the arm talent to make throws. Now, he's not efficient. He's 56% on the year, 5 touchdowns,
That's
5
not good.
picks. But I do think they have enough weapons to hurt LSU if they're not getting pressure. And every single LSU football game, I will say the same thing, is that it's about LSU getting pressure on the quarterback so that way the secondary doesn't have to hold up repeatedly. Now, I say that, and I think they did a pretty good job against Ole Miss as a secondary. Once Trey Harris left the game, they could not guard Trey Harris a lick, but that's nobody really can. So again, you want to unsettle Green, make him uncomfortable. If he's comfortable, I definitely think he's talented enough to make some throws and beat you. Like, I don't think anybody on the schedule, like quarterback wise, it's gonna be Taylor Green. It's gonna be whoever A&M rolls out there. It'll be Jalen Milroe, Diego Pavia. DJ Lagway, you go down the list, it's going to be quarterbacks that can beat you. You have to unsettle them every single game.
Yeah, and other people on this team will have to beat you beyond Taylor Green. He's got, like you said, the passing stuff's not great, but he does have 326 yards rushing on 80 attempts, 4 touchdowns. So even adding those, he's not to where Nuss is touchdown wise or production wise or numbers wise, but he does enough, right, to where that puts him at the top half of the SEC in terms of production at quarterback.
And I'll say this: he's completed 100 passes for 1,500 yards. So we're looking at a guy who was almost at 15 yards per completion. Like that, that's pretty significant right there. Like when
But
he is
he's only hitting on half of
50%.
them.
Yeah. So, completions, 100 completions, 189 attempts,
Yeah,
107 completions. So I'm saying when he does complete them, they're going for
they're
14 plus
chunking it.
yards. Yeah, per reception.
So he could. I think if the front seven plays like it does for LSU again, that it makes it a lot more tough because they just corralled someone who's more talented that can
Yeah.
run the ball and throw it in Jackson Dart.
But now you got to. And someone brought up this point. I don't know on the board, but the defense is going to have to do this on the road now. Like this is going to be very interesting to see. Now, I do think they got a good amount of momentum from playing at home. Like Ole Miss penalty wise, and this defense looked fueled up every single time they took the field. Now you got to go do it on the road.
Ole
So
Miss had over 100 yards of penalties.
yeah, so now you got to go do it on the road against a team that we'll see, but probably won't give you 120 yards of penalties.
Coach K7 asked, "What's up, Coach K?" And he said, "Great win." Talked about that, and it was. And boy, he's stuck. He said a lot of rumblings out in Rebel Country about the team they brought in, the impact for next season with losing those pieces and not going all in on high school, but doing it on the portal. Yeah, I can tell you that is the mood of the Ole Miss fan base right now. But he said, and he ends it with keep up the great job, guys. Which thanks to everyone above him who told us that, which was nobody. So, Coach K, you get our love today. I'm sending my love to you, Coach K, and I will answer both your questions. And your opinion was that the most aggressive attacking defensive effort since the Durante Jones scheme for Bama in 21. Yes.
That's a callback right there.
Yes, it was, right?
That is a callback. Yes.
They were just after him all night
That
long.
was that game they threw like caution to the wind and said, "We're not winning this game, but we're just going to like come at you." That was the fake punt game as well. Like that was
They were sending this one. They were sending Weeks all night, sending Burns, sending Greg Penn in for sacks.
again
So yeah, I'd call it the most aggressive. They were
this is what I
pressing
thought
at the line of scrimmage at corner.
this is what I thought the defense was going to look like in the preseason, and the first 5 games of the year they just didn't or couldn't do it. So I don't know what flipped, but we'll take it.
And then he asked what in the world was up with that fourth down lateral call with Caleb Jackson's only snap of the night from So this is what I've put together from asking multiple people. You can go back and watch the film. You can decide for yourself. Caleb was not supposed to take that ball, and it was supposed to be kept and then pitched underneath to Xavier Thomas, who was coming right across underneath. So I think in his only attempt of the night, Caleb took a ball that was not designed to do that based upon the read that had been happening. So I think even if you look at Nuss's face after, he's a little like, why did you grab it out of my hand?
Yeah, that's what I assumed. So I'm glad you were able to clarify that, but that is what I assumed.
Shout out Coach K. Man, I'm always Q-Towel too. COUT Owl too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, maybe I'll get it right. He can tell me.
He's on the board all the time. I see him.
Yeah, yes. I just need to get it right. You and Shay need to do a live pod on Friday or Sunday evenings. So we do our late night reaction on Saturdays, but it's always so late at night that most people catch it Sundays. But if we get another, we've talked about it, Maddie B, we're going to start doing live at some point where we take people's questions on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All
That's
right.
a promise. Nola Fan
Yeah,
33, halfway point of the season, my man. Who's your most surprising and most disappointing player so far?
Let me look at the roster. Most surprising.
I'm gonna go disappointing. Harold Perkins, and it's a cheap way out of this, I think, but I think it rings true. you didn't get what you wanted out of those games, and then it's very disappointing not having him. It's not his fault that he got injured, but it's like, oh man, I wish you had him for the rest of the year. And what you got out of him was like he never turned that corner. So it's twofold there. I'm disappointed he can't be out there anymore to continue what he started, because when he started, it was very much still that learning curve. So that's my pick on defense.
Most surprising for me, I would say it's either Caden Durham or Whit Weeks. We knew Whit would be a player, but good God, he just had an incredible game. So I'm probably recency bias there. But those two,
Aaron Anderson is my offense.
yeah, like Aaron Anderson.
I
Like
knew Aaron's a great high school player, but he'd been hurt for 2 years. Bama and then here. For
yeah.
him to go out, I mean, he's there. If they didn't have him, I'm not sure where they'd be on offense right now.
Most disappointing. There's a couple names on the offensive line I could say here, and that's
Leave it at
not.
that. You can leave
Yeah,
it at
we can
that.
leave it at that. We can leave it at that. Not Will Campbell. Will Campbell, top 10 pick, lock him
Will
in.
Campbell, as he said after the game on Snapchat, and Brad, or whatever you guys use these days, Instagram, and Brad Davis probably got after him, but he put him in a seatbelt followed by some explicatives. Explicatives. Gave up no sacks, no pressures. Nobody gave up any sacks, but okay, so you'll go O-line. I'll go Aaron Anderson was my surprising in a very good way.
Yeah. Okay.
Answer.
Let's keep moving.
LSU Lawyer 24 said, oh, and then he did say what position group has improved the most over the first 6 weeks. I think it's got to be D-line and edge. Losing Guillory and playing like they have.
Yeah, but they were good. They were good from week 1. No, I mean, you're probably right.
Well, over the 6 weeks is the season.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I've been surprised really at the consistency that they've had from week 1 to week 6. So I mean, that's probably the right pick though. Yeah.
Okay. Lawyer 24 said Nuss has 4 picks in the last 2 games. Any worries that he's getting too careless? I think you won those 2 games, so you're good there, Matty B. No, I have no concern. I think, in fact, making those mistakes will only drill home that he needs to be better in terms of protecting the football and taking what's there and working within the game plan. So, again, I go back to saying it, Matty B. I don't think that Nuss will regress here. I think Nuss is going to get back on path to moving forward.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Is everything good?
You're good. You went out for a second. Now you're back. It doesn't matter.
I gotta buy a new adapter. Anyways,
Oh, we're here.
but yeah, I'm good. Any concerns if he's getting too careless? I don't think he's getting. Okay, the South Alabama throws were careless for sure.
But he didn't care about those because the game was out of hand.
Yeah, the Ole Miss throws to me, and I went back and watched the Skycast to see what he was seeing. The deep throw in real time looked, and it was careless, but it looked like really, really bad. Watching it from his angle, like I kind of see it. I saw the player like what he hit, but he was kind of had some pressure in front of him, so he couldn't get all of it on the throw, so it's completely underthrown, and the cornerback just makes a play. If he could get his full arm into it, I could kind of see it. But in general, it was still a fairly careless game, yes, from him. So, is that a concern? Sure, it's a concern because you can't keep throwing 2 picks a game, like you can't do. But I have faith that he is going to be fine. Like I think he's going to be fine.
Christian Case or C Money Case, best bet for the weekend, college or pro, doesn't matter. Matty B, is this pod dropping today?
Pod's dropping today.
You don't wait for the weekend. I'll go tonight, Western Kentucky +2, Sam Houston.
There you go. I'm waiting for college basketball season.
If you can get it up to 3 somehow, go for it. But there's my pick.
Okay.
I got you right away. You'll know an answer tomorrow. You'll know an answer tonight, my friend.
Final lines. We got back on track last week. I had the over 310 Garrett Nussmeier passing, and that was free, even though he completed 40% of his passes.
Yes, he did. Good job. We're back. Now we're going to cruise again, Matty B. That's the goal here, is to put up some big numbers. But some fun games this weekend. LSU's at night, 6 o'clock, but there are a lot of other really good games set to go on. If you want me to be real bold out here, give me on a line that's already moved from 3.5 to 5, I think, is what it is. But Texas to cover versus Georgia.
It's at 5?
Is it 3.5? I think it's at 5 now.
Oh my God.
Man's got his phone out to bet
If
it.
if they blow out Georgia,
Now just give me to cover 5. That could be 2 field goals. That could be anything.
if they beat Georgia by more than a touchdown, which is not, again, not what you're betting, but if they beat Georgia by more than a touchdown, they might never come down from that number 1 spot. That's crazy.
We're wrapping up here. Chandler, I think we witnessed coronation of weeks. Of course, our man, player of the game from the Bengal Tiger. Between his emergence, a healthy retooled secondary, the pass rush, which he describes as awesome, is this a good time to issue a back half protection for the Tigers? Call your shot on that final 6 games, as we did. Most likely 9-3, but the path to 10-2 or 11-1 very much there, obviously.
Yeah.
These next 2 games, we think, at Arkansas, at A&M, will determine everything.
Yeah. If you win them, if you win these 2 games, you're in the top 5, and you are having a great time when Alabama comes to town in less than a month. So, but yeah, I do think 4-2 in the back 6 puts you at 9-3 overall. I mean, considering, again, the USC game sucks, but like this 9-3, I almost feel like better about this 9. If they ends up happening, I almost feel better about it than the last 2 years, where it's like, look at like what they went through here, and like look at what they overcame, and like the wins that they had, and we'll see what ends up happening. But like, I don't know, I feel like that'd be a really good year for them if they end up 9-3, considering how crazy everything is.
The Tiger Fan 11 said jet sweeps and pitches in the run game. Campbell and Jones are athletic and they can run. Can we mix that up into there some? I think they've done that some this season. They've scored on them too. We've seen it happen. I'm going to go back to what I said. Go rewind and look at on some of those pitch and jet sweeps at who was blocking on that side. Kyron and CJ Daniels.
Yeah.
I think without CJ Daniels, you can't do some things you're normally doing.
Also, to build off that point, if Xavier Thomas is playing at, whatever the Y or Z
Correct.
boundary,
Then he can't do it anymore.
he's not. Yeah, they didn't hand the ball off to him against Ole Miss. Like, it was just a completely different offense with those.
CJ's ability to move around to different positions allows stuff like that to happen.
Yeah. So they need it.
LSD Tiger said, now we're having fun. I guess the tab hit for him. Do we have a similar situation this week with Big Bro meeting Little Bro? I'd like to think so. We haven't made our picks yet. But
Well, hey, last week, all 5 Bengal Tiger.
5 for 5.
We went 5 for 5. Everybody picked Ole Miss, and we're like, oh my gosh, how is this happening? And they end up winning. So
I think you had the closest. Maybe it was a 2-point margin. You or Julie were close.
I had 30 to 28. Didn't somebody have 31-30, didn't they? I thought. Was that
30 to
you?
28. 30 to 28 is closer.
Didn't you have
30, yeah, but that's 31-30 is not as close as 30
Oh,
28
I thought you meant
in a
close.
29-26 game.
Oh, yeah.
So you win, but we all won. Picks coming Friday, LSD.
Yeah.
2 more. Tiger Band 83. After all the dust has settled from the wide receiver injuries, predicted the order of our best wide receivers by end of season. I can go 3 deep. Kyron, Aaron Anderson. I'm not counting Mason Taylor as a receiver. So Kyron, Aaron Anderson, CJ Daniels, Xavier.
Yeah.
Trey'Dez Green. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the order. We'll see again how much Hilton plays.
Get CJ Daniels healthy. That's the key.
Get CJ healthy, and just let Xavier be Xavier. Don't force him, or don't, you don't want him to have to be Chris Hilton. You don't want him to have to be Kyle Parker. Let Xavier be Xavier and do what he does. So, yeah, that's the group.
Both agree then. All right. And last one, barely over an hour, 103.
Close.
Maddie B is Cold Tiger. Cold world out there. How in the world did Bo Davis, LSU's D-line coach, a former Tiger, make the D-line serviceable with the talent? And he didn't, without Guillory, their starting nose tackle was out for the year. He said, absolutely incredible job. I agree. We both do. They seem to be way more consistent last year with way less talent. How did you do it? I'll tell you how, Matty B. Last year, they didn't have a D-line coach, which Brian Kelly openly admitted whenever he moved position coaches around because of something out of their control when Jimmy Lindsey suffers a health condition before the season that prevents him from coaching. So that's one thing, having a D-line coach. The other one is from 1995 when he stepped foot on LSU as a GA on the D-line until right now, You've got a guy who's coached at LSU multiple times, Bama under Saban, Texas, Bama under Saban again, the Jaguars, UTSA under Frank, the Detroit Lions, Texas under Sark, back to LSU. His only high school stop, North Shore, which is like the best school in Texas. You've got someone for 25 years who's been at the top of his game. He coaches in the NFL and for the best teams in college.
Yeah. I mean,
And he recruits, and he can recruit, and he
literally,
develops.
that's
And he develops.
yeah, literally. I mean, that's it. They did not have coaching last year. It was painfully
And now they
obvious.
have one of the most well-known coaches and D-line coaches
Makes
in college football.
makes a little bit of a difference. Makes a little bit of a difference. So now it's about getting the talent to pair with that coaching, which they will in time.
We've made it, Matty B. We are done with the Mailbag Pod. What we have learned today, Matty B does not believe Texas will beat Georgia. That's what we learned.
I just say I'm surprised they went up to 5. I mean, if they blow out Georgia, that's gonna be very impressive. They haven't played. I mean, they just haven't played anybody to this point. This is just tough to
No,
know.
I hear you. I hear you.
But I like it though. That I said. Remember, was it 3 weeks ago? You were like, we got a question of who the best team in the SEC was, and this was before Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. And I was like, or no, yeah, this was after Alabama beat Georgia before they lost to Vanderbilt. And I was like, I'm still taking Texas here. And now I'm here 3 weeks later saying, I think they're really good, but we need to see how this game plays out. So Texas has a very favorable schedule getting this game at home as well, though. So, they could just cruise, but we'll see. That's it. Thank you all for joining us. A lot of content on the Bengal Tiger On3. After this, I'm posting this, and then we got women's basketball media day at 3, and then men's basketball potentially
Check the site. Tons of stuff
getting
coming.
something this tonight. So yeah, everything's up there. Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions. We'll be back doing this again, and we will be back on Friday to do a preview podcast for LSU Arkansas. So check us out then. Till then, we will talk to y'all later.